First of all, I want to be thankful to Joshua Dziabiak for having us here.
Right.
This is episode 1 of the Pop Finance podcast. I really wanted to go ahead and take time just kind of to introduce what we're doing, Ioanni. And then, we could also introduce Joshua Dziabiak and, we'll jump into it. But
Right.
The Pop Finance podcast, we're focusing on merging, pop culture and finance matters and really just talking to people who have done it at a big scale, right? And Joshua Dziabiak, my guy here, is one of those guys. So funny story. I met him back in 2018 and now I'm back in his house, in 2021. So a lot has happened since then and I'm excited.
Well, thank you guys for having me on your very first podcast of what I'm sure will be many.
Oh, no, for sure. Funny thing is, because I don't think I shared it with him, but how I was reaching out to you so many times and dude, I was not giving up on reaching out to him because I'll let you introduce yourself first because look,
You're already going off. It's unscripted, so we might go all over the place.
Yeah, I'm Joshua Dziabiak, serial entrepreneur. I'm a new father. I've been in tech.
Congrats.
Thank
There you go.
Thank you. It's amazing and exhausting at the same time. I've been in tech all my life since I was 14, which is when I started my first business. And I have built 5 companies. 2 of them have been acquired. And then the most recent one is a company called The Zebra. And it's a tech company in the insurance space. So we help, consumers compare insurance, to put it very simply. And that company has done very well, fortunately. And I spent about 8 years there building that company up until about this time last year, a little sooner. And I stepped down from the day-to-day. I still sit on the board, but still remain kind of in tune to it. But now I'm kind of on to something new. Got the itch to start something again, and I'm back at it. So
that's really dope, dude. Started a business in his teenage years.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I was 14 years old. I had employees before I had a driver's license. Which was kind of odd.
Hold on, that's fucking crazy. Because first of all, how do you even know? Because the thing is, people can start businesses. So back in the day, I thought I started a business, right? And I was selling books. It was So it's just collecting money and stuff. But you were a tech entrepreneur back when tech was not really, popping like it is now. Right. So how were you finding these spaces and actually going into them, turning them into business, monetizing, creating partnerships? I just would have been lost as fuck, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, I can't say that I knew exactly what I was doing, that's for sure. But it was really just a passion of web design, actually. So I taught myself, and you're right, this is predates a lot of pretty much every new technology, modern technology for sure. But
for the audience, was this back in the 2000s or?
This would have been 2000, around 2000, 2001, I believe I started.
Wow.
Yeah, so this is 56K modem, dial-up internet. But I taught myself how to design websites. And it happened to be great timing, right? It was a time when every business wanted to be online, but they didn't have a presence yet. So it wasn't hard to get clients. And I became this local go-to kid. If you owned a small business and you wanted to create a website for it, I could do it on the cheap and do a good job. And that is what really turned into the business was just designing websites. And then I started hosting them. I taught myself how to host these, create servers and lease the space and that sort of thing. So.
Quick question before we go into the hosting. He said that I just became the go-to local kid. Let's break down how you became the go-to local kid.
Okay. How'd you get your name out there? Were you, passing out cards or, word of mouth, or did you have a portfolio that you showcase here and there?
It's always the hardest thing is getting the first client. And then, if you can leverage that first experience in some way, shape, or form to get the next one, it starts to snowball from there, hopefully. And that's kind of what happened. But I'd say that it was really a matter of just, networking doing a good job, you know, and also like timing is super helpful, right? Like I did not know, I wasn't like old enough to know what even strategy really was, but I just happened to like kind of start this thing right at the right time. Yeah, so I mean, I did AdWords at the time. It was called Google AdWords, you know, in terms of like paid marketing and things. A little bit here and there on other types of platforms, but by and large, I was able to kind of scale it just organically for the most part, which was
that's really dope.
awesome.
I think so. One of the things that I usually like to look into, you know, for entrepreneurs is like the daily routine. What exactly are they doing to, you know, make sure they're staying ahead of the game and, you know, on pace. At 14, what was your like type of daily routine you had going for that business?
Exactly.
As much as you could remember.
Yeah, as much as I could. So I remember first off, I was very stressed out. You know, starting a business at the age of 14 is not something I necessarily recommend for a 14-year-old unless you know, are just headstrong and, you know, have the ability to take the time outside of school and stuff. I had to drop out of school. So I actually did not graduate. Oh, wow. I didn't really even graduate high school. I didn't go to college. You know, neither of my parents went to college, but they worked for my grandfather's business, which was a local, small kind of service-based business. And, you know, so for me, it was like starting a business was just kind of how you made money. That's what I saw. And so, yeah, so I stopped going to school. So it was really just like, you know, wake up. I would, when I started the office, it was, you know, I made sure to have routine, very structured office hours. And it was just me to start. I just had a little space, near my home. So I would, my aunt who lived nearby would often take me to work. And I would just wait, you know, for someone to pick me up at the end. And if I had a meeting, sometimes I'd have to have my employees drive me to it. But the reason I say I was so stressed out is because, like, you know, you're so young, starting something, and like I knew nothing about, you know, accounting or operations or managing people or what, you know. So I was learning everything like in real time. And you know, I also desired to have a social life. I was 14 years old, so it's like, you know, everybody wants some level of social life, but especially when you're young, like, yeah, your friends are doing fun things. So and then on top of that, I was in the web hosting space. So like, you know, website goes down or server goes down, sorry. It's like, you know, it's not a fun day, right? Like
everything's manual.
Yeah, everything's manual. I remember, I don't know, you guys remember the T-Mobile sidekicks? Those like phones on flip over?
Yep.
Yeah,
I was in elementary school.
I remember when they came out and I got one of those and I loved it because it was the first phone that had like a terminal on it that you could actually use like to log into a server remotely. And so I remember like I would be out and I would be able to like send an electric signal to these servers to reboot them remotely using my little T-Mobile sidekick. It was like super cumbersome. Yeah. But anyway, I mean, I learned a lot, but yeah, it was a lot. It was a lot to handle for a 14-year-old. That's for sure.
And that time when sidekicks was popping, I was playing around with iPod shuffles.
Oh yeah, we did have the iPod shuffles.
I still remember. I was in 3rd grade. Yeah, that's crazy. So, you know, obviously, yeah, you were stressed. You had to learn a lot of things. How did you deal with that? You know, give people an insight, because I feel like a lot of people when they start businesses, obviously, you know, it's really hard to like, okay, I got to dedicate time to accounting now to learn it. And then you still have to focus on the vision of the business. How were you handling that and making sure you were making the progress? And then client work sounds like, shit, I mean, you dropped out of school to like focus on the business. It was busy. So,
man, like, I think it's all about who you surround yourself with, you know, like, so I knew like at a young age so I grew up on a farm, some more context. I grew up on a farm, kind of 40 minutes north of the city of Pittsburgh, kind of what felt like in the middle of nowhere. And so I wasn't necessarily a part of like tech meetups or anything related to what I was doing. But I did end up meeting some folks online that were doing similar things or have been there, done that. And I just built relationships with them, and that was like, they were my outlet. Like, I was constantly asking them for their feedback, even just like trying to get to know them. So for the sake of like, catching some inspiration, right? Like, seeing what can be done and what's possible. But I was very fortunate to connect with a few different people that I think really inspired me and really helped me kind of manage a lot of the stuff that, everything was new to me. So I got to say that's probably the biggest thing I remember doing that was super helpful.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like relationships, that's one big aspect. I mean, I talk to him all the time about, trying to stay around those people that, can really keep you driven and stuff.
Yeah.
What type of qualities did these people have? I guess that's something that a lot of people, me as an entrepreneur, trying to identify those characteristics that inspire you. And it's different for everybody, but for you, what were those things?
I think it would come down to, ability for them to like communicate to me in a way that was, in layman's terms, because sometimes you have these ideas like, oh, I want to meet this person, or I would love for this person to be my mentor, but the reality is like a lot of people don't know how to communicate, especially to a 14-year-old, but to anybody starting out in a way that really actually helps them get to the next step. And it could just be because maybe they're so far removed they don't even remember, like. It's like they're a little out of touch with reality in some regard, or it just is like, they think so technical that they can't figure out how to like communicate it in a way that actually helps you. So I think like ability to communicate effectively and that kind of comes down to like, do you vibe with that person? Like, can you pick up what they're putting down, sort of thing? And then I think it's, for me, like, I don't think I did this intentionally, but I think it was really helpful to have very humble people. Like, humility is a great quality, right, in a mentor, because you don't want to be dealing with an ego, right, when you're trying to ask questions. Like, I mean, that kind of comes to mind, but or I mean, certainly like field, like industry experts or subject matter expertise is really important if you're doing something that requires that. And then Google was my best friend. Well, it was Yahoo first and then Google, but really like I taught myself so much just like just finding articles online and just kind of doing it in real time and learning the hard way in some cases.
That's how it be. And I think a lot of people, sometimes that's when you have to start realizing, do you really want to do this business, entrepreneurship thing? Because it's not about half-assing it. You're going to have those moments where you're going to have to put some attention, like he said, into other things and really learn it. Or you could pay other people to do it. Right. But you have limited resources.
So I have a question. You say you sold your company at a very young age. What was that like? Like, what was the process behind that? So, for example, it's hard to kind of just wrap my head around. Somebody reaches out, it's like, hey, we want to buy this company from you. Yeah. And you're very young. It's like, who influenced you? Who helped you out? What was that process like?
So I mentioned how stressed I was, right? Right. So it was tax season, and I was I think I was doing like, I remember I was so mad, right? Because I was paying all these taxes and I still couldn't vote. Like, it was like, I felt very passionate about this issue.
Well, you were still 14 at the time?
When I sold it, I was 17, but you can't vote 2 years later. But I was really stressed out. It was tax season. I was meeting with my CPA, and of course he knew my books and like the growth trajectory of the business. He knew what sector I was in, and certainly knew a lot more about finances than I did. But he wanted to open a business brokerage firm, and he saw what I was doing and felt like it would be easy to find someone that would want to scoop it up. And so kind of out of a moment of like stress, I was like, he asked me, would you be interested in selling this? And I was like, I really never thought about it. But I said to him, I was like, tell me look into it and tell me what you think you can get for it. And, who knows, maybe I'll sell it. And it was kind of like a fleeting, moment, like thought. I didn't really think much past that. But he came to me with buyers like,
left and right.
Wow. And
even more stress.
I know, even more stress.
And like I look back and like I don't think he intentionally like took advantage of me at all. He helped me out, but I probably could have like really maximized the value a lot more than I did. But like you're 17.
You're 17, meeting with a CPA, like
it's like you see a number like that, you're like 17, you're just like, all right, let's do it, So I was lucky to have him in that whole situation happening with him starting the brokerage firm, that he kind of guided me through that process. Otherwise, I don't know, like who knows what I would have done. But the stress helped, right? Because it was like, I just want to kind of move on from this.
And that's crazy. He says like, I don't know, because that's probably what brought you here too. It's like choices really affect your trajectory. Totally. Kind of like, being here, it's like if I wouldn't have reached out last minute, because I was like, man, fuck this, I need to reach out one more time. I would probably not have been here.
That's the one.
It's
that's
like,
the one that works.
It's just choices. Yeah. So you touched on taxes, and me myself, so we set up WAN, that's a C corp, and my homie told me about 10B forms. I didn't know what the hell a 10B form was, and he was like, it's gonna save you a lot of money later on. Started looking into it. So I want to know what type of entity that y'all have, and if you could kind of like break down to the audience, because what I like to think about, me as an investor, is that a lot of your wealth usually comes from the things that are controllable. Taxes is one of the main things. So how are you thinking about that, and what are some things that you started realizing later on that I could have done differently and maximize my value, my returns, or whatnot? So
like on a personal level, or more on like the business side of it?
I think in wealth, in terms like just structures you have, right? You have your entity.
I'd say one of the things I've learned in the last more recently has been just the importance of trying to get as much wealth out of your own estate as possible. I look back and I wish I would have done things like set up trusts earlier, right? Especially after like my first business, because I can't expect somebody young and never had started a business before and didn't have any. I didn't come from a family that had a ton of money or anything like that. So I didn't know any better. But now I look back and I've actually just had a conversation recently with a guy that's been advising me, and he kind of ran a scenario that like, had I set up a grantor trust when I started the Zebra or any of my companies, really, like it freezes your assets at the value at that time, and helps with like the taxes. If you assume that it's going to appreciate in value, it helps get some of those assets out of your personal estate.
Right. So it's basically like, let's say, to put it in simple terms, your value of your assets are worth, like, let's say $100, right? There's going to be some appreciation later on. So it keeps them fixed at that value to like limit your tax later on, or how exactly?
Kind of. And I'm not like, a big expert on like trusts and living wills and all that. But so essentially, like when you create it's called a grantor trust, and it's that way because essentially you are the beneficiary as well as the trustee. So it's all, something you can control. It's there's really no difference in terms of, your ability to access or use the finances. Maybe some slight things here or there, but, and so then you essentially like sell, your assets into that trust. Right. And so, the trust kind of owns and oversees those assets, but when you do that, it gets it out of your own personal wealth. So then that you're not, income tax, estate tax, kind of differs whenever you're able to kind of pull some of that out. So and it does it. So it will, like, at the value when you sell it to the trust, essentially. You sell it at the present value, assuming it's going to appreciate, and the delta between from the time you sold it to what it's worth whenever the trust at that point liquidates it. There's it kind of helps with some of the estate taxes and personal liabilities and things like that. It also protects you, right? If someone wants to come after you.
Exactly.
Like,
yeah.
So, like I don't, like I said, I'm not an expert with that stuff. And that's part of the reason I didn't do it earlier.
Cool. That's cool though. Like, I like that because it's like, even though he's not an expert, you like, there's so many resources out there and you sometimes have to like look it up. Unfortunately, some people don't have access to that. But even sharing, like you said, like a grantor trust, you could just finding out about these things. I remember when I used to work at the pension fund and I first got into investing, I would hear EBITDA a lot, right? And then like as you get into investing, you're like, okay, that's a good metric. Like, but you wouldn't have known if you're not working in that, domain, industry or domain, right? And you're hearing these terms kind of like you with cloud, right?
Yeah.
Like you're hearing a lot of, sometimes
you
he
still
comes
can't
back
wrap
home.
your head around
sometimes
it.
he comes back home and he says some like technical ass shit and I'm like, bro.
He's still telling me, so there's computers like on the air? And I'm like, kinda. You could put 1 million computers in the air and they all run processes. I was like, wait, so you can detach like the memory and put it on another one? I'm like, yeah, all in the air. It's all done on the air.
But I'm thankful that I have him, or people like that. So I say that because for the audience, there's so many things. I was just talking with one of my friends and, I was helping her out with investments and she told me she was going to buy some more property because she already has one. And I was like, hey, you should look into like setting up an entity and buying the property through there. Because they could just help you later on with your wealth structure. And it's like some people, sometimes it's having these things being said around, their environment. It helps you out. And you're a prime example. You didn't know too much about it, but at least you had somebody mention it.
Yeah. And you have to kind of like, you can hire people to try to give you advice on this and or maybe you have a friend or something, but the reality is like it's very hard to find people that will proactively or maybe just even ask the right questions to kind of get it out of you so that they can guide you the right way. And so what I've learned with that is even though you may hire someone or have a mentor or friend or something that you can lean on, you still got to do your own research, right? Because they don't know every, dot and tittle that and every detail of the context of what you're doing now and what you plan to do, or what your concerns are. And, it's so hard. Like sometimes you don't know what questions you should be asking, but it's 2021. There's like a bazillion articles about everything out there. So you could do some research and compare, what others are saying and then bring that to them and say, hey, what about this? Or why aren't we talking about that? Is it not relevant to me? Or, so you still got to like ask those questions, to kind of, find the right resolution. I very rarely have I worked with like an attorney or an accountant or name any field and any expertise like that is always like proactively advising. You kind of still have to do your own legwork.
That's a fact, man. I like that. So obviously you went to your CPA. He told you he was gonna sell the company. You found some people. So what happens then, right? Obviously, you sell the company, you have all this money, you're a teenager, your parents probably like, what the fuck is going on? He's making more money than I have.
He's drug dealing.
That actually did happen.
Oh, really?
Well, not the drug dealing, but parents something. Wondering, because they had again, this was even before, now everything's like just kind of like de facto mainstream, some of this stuff, but then certainly it wasn't.
Plus, he came from a rural area too.
Yeah, so they were like, what? What? How? But thank God, like they really trusted me, and they saw how much I was learning and what and they probably had that intuition that I was getting into something that could be big, right?
Right,
the internet.
exactly.
So, yeah. Sorry, what was that? What was your
that's good. That's good. I want to hear that. I was saying like, so basically, you have all these sale proceeds, and it's like, what now? I mean, me personally. If I had that money, this is my personal opinion, I would have, started looking for investments or throw it into an ETF, right? I have so much money now, it's just going to compound and let's let it ride, and do fun stuff. At that age, you think you have so much money, you can do whatever the hell you want. What was
I know. I wasn't as smart as you for sure. So I took I took some money and had some fun, right? I remember I bought a Mercedes on eBay and had it delivered to my house.
Oh wow!
And I did that because I went to the dealership, the local dealership, and they would not give me the time of day because they just assumed that I could not afford any of it. And so it was my what they say. Well, it was just the way they treated me. It was like there was really no they weren't giving me the time of day. They were very kind of bearish on ability to get me into a vehicle. I don't know. I left with just such a it was like my middle finger to them was revenge. Like just go and buy it and pay for it cash and just have it delivered. So I had fun. I did some stuff like that. I bought my toys, but I think the smartest thing I did was what you just said is I took some of the funds and started investing in other ideas and things that I wanted to do. And every investment I made, it was because it was always things I could control. So it was businesses essentially that I was starting or ideas that I had, but it was always the common denominator was always was stuff that I was really interested in. And I never knew anything about it necessarily, but I felt like, I had the resources to kind of get my way, make my way into it by kind of making those investments. And one of them stuck, which happened to turn out to be my next company after the company that I had sold when I was 17. And so you just don't know.
Which company was that one exactly?
There's a company called ShowClix.
ShowClix, right. Yeah, it's a really, and then their valuation is not too bad.
You're a big believer of Square, man. You're like...
Oh, no, I try not to get married with my stocks.
But that's 1/3 of your portfolio.
Yeah, I'm pretty married to it. But I believe, dude, I'm pretty sure you get the same feeling. Entrepreneurs, Elon Musk, he has a big stake on Elon Musk, but I low-key, Elon Musk, I feel like some ethical, I don't know his ethics, really? Man. Yeah.
He thinks they're cooking the books.
I think they're cooking.
You think they're cooking the books? Tesla?
I hope not.
I mean, this guy does some pretty SpaceX. He does some shit sometimes where it's just so egotistical, some Kanye shit, and I'm just like, bro, why are you? It's but whatever. Jack Dorsey, this guy said he meditates 2 times a day, so I put my trust into it.
This is going part of the podcast too.
Oh, okay, that's been recording. So yeah, we were just basically talking about investing. I think that's actually a good segue into talking about we'll talk about ShowClix.
ShowClix,
and I also want to get into some of your investments because that's obviously what we're focusing on. Wealth journey, building wealth. So yeah, let's jump into ShowClix. What was ShowClix exactly?
So ShowClix, it's still around. It's another tech company, but we serve the live entertainment space. So basically, we built software for venues, event organizers, promoters to sell tickets online. At a box office, we built technology for scanning tickets. So if you're hosting an event, you could leverage our technology. It was kind of like a competitor to Ticketmaster, much more modern solution at that time, where Ticketmaster was obviously the big, incumbent, that legacy solution.
Yeah.
So something similar, but we weren't focused on those big acts like the national sporting leagues and stuff like that, where Ticketmaster really has a strong foot. Yeah, we were more in middle market, smaller niche type events. So, nice. But that was a lot of fun for me because it was right at the intersection of technology and entertainment, which is something things I really enjoy. So
what you into?
In terms of, I love the reach, right? So with live entertainment, it was you build this technology and then you can actually see it literally manifest in front of you at the event, right? People using it, like I said, to buy tickets at the box office. Everybody coming in with their ticket that was purchased through your platform, and you can see the technology at play, and I love that. And entertainment, and I think it was to be honest, I think at that age it was very much just the shiny the appeal of the entertainment industry that I was drawn to.
At this point, you're not 17 anymore, right? You're still 17.
I'm forever 17. Yeah, 18, so I can vote. Forever 18.
So okay. Because he jumps into it so fast, shit, I started a new company and this and that. Well, hold on. What lessons did you take from the last company and start implementing to this one? Where you were okay, now I got this figured out. And I'm thinking about setting up the entity and those little minor steps that actually later on, kind of like the tax, setting up and all that.
I'd say, I really fumbled through my first business so much that like I learned a lot of what like not to do, but I still didn't necessarily have like good experience with some of the, I don't know, call it corporate governance or like, the stuff that just like kind of, like just kind of like makes your eyes roll back in your head sort of thing. Like, important stuff, but so I made mistakes, actually probably more mistakes setting up my second company because we ended up raising venture capital. And when we did that, we had created the business as an LLC. And then later when we went to go raise capital, like that type of structure, most often than not, does not make sense for, a venture capital firm or any private equity firm to like... just the structure, usually tax reasons, or it's just the way that the structure is with having a class of shares, and down to like an LLC is basically just a pass through entity. So we had to redo everything. So yeah, that I took a lot of lessons then for my, the company after that. But
and quick question: at this point, you're still like doing everything yourself, right? Like you don't have really an advisor on. No,
I wouldn't say I really had an advisor on that side of it. I was
besides Google.
Yeah, besides Google. I did. What I did was I built like an MVP I offshored. I found some developers offshore, and I was basically like like I said, my background's in web design, so I did all the design. But I was also basically like a project manager, because it was every day, speccing out the features, then testing what they previously released. There's always bugs, right? So like here are the bugs, like doing quality assurance like that. That was everyday iteration all the time until we had something that we felt like we could sell. And so that's where I spent like the majority of my time. And as hard as that was, like you have the product and it's like, okay, now I actually have to sell it, like I have to get it out there and like get it in front of people. I had an amazing, business partner that I met eventually. So I started the company, had that prototype that I'm mentioning, and then I met her, and she brought a whole new kind of flavor. She was the yin to my yang sort of thing, and that was super helpful because she brought a lot to the table that I did not know. So.
How you get into these communities, like reaching out to? I think a big challenge is like finding a co-founder. And usually we like look to friends and just go into business with a friend. But like, let's say you don't have no friends with the same vision you have. How did you go about that? Like, would you just go on the web and look for people? Or?
You can now. I mean, there's a bunch of like
like Meetup. I'm thinking like
meetups and things. But. First and foremost, like it's really about like you have to be able to like vibe and jive with that person. You know what I mean? And that was, it was like you want to work with this person, right? Like, cause it's like they make everything fun. They bring something to the table you don't bring. Like I said, I think looking for the opposite attributes that you have, like there's no use having two people around the table. That's all there's around the table, and both people have the same skill set, right? Like, so in this case, I actually met her. I took a job helping to launch another startup in the States here. Kind of skipped over that part, but it was short lived. But because I started the next company, but I met her. She was working for that company, and we worked together. And we worked together very well. And she had a background in entertainment, and it just like kind of
the perfect match.
Yeah, but you could absolutely like. I don't think there's any like silver bullet to finding like the perfect co-founder, and there's no such thing as a perfect co-founder. But if they have a passion for something that's related to what your idea is, and you feel like you can work with them, or you have experience working with them, and that like maybe they're looking for new opportunities. Bring it up, like
exactly.
Don't do Geo and be like, oh, I need you to sign an NDA, like before I share my idea.
So I had an idea, guys. And trying to make a Josh sign an NDA. I was like, look, man, this guy gonna steal my idea. I'm fucking with it. Hey, bro, I can't talk to you till later on till we meet in person.
It's because Gio's very competitive. Once he has his mind on something, it's like he wants to create it, and he wants that to be the number one, the number one. Yeah, but
no, dude, you like. I get that sense. Like you definitely have that vibe, but
I saw the pop finance trademark. I was like, "Fuck, Josh." Shit, you done got that shit. I was like, "Man, to get my lawyers."
I'm like, "Where is it from? Canada." Let's see if he has any ties to Canada.
That's where I set up my trust. Is Canada.
That's funny as hell. No, that's really dope, dude. So like, you reinvested. You're giving me Elon Musk vibes because Elon Musk, they PayPal and then went straight into Tesla and his other ventures.
The Boring Company, and then he has some others. I mean, SpaceX, just jumping around and getting very creative.
So get into his next idea. You said you started tapping into something new, and what was that?
Yeah, so I knew I wanted to do something that was like direct to consumer, like building a brand, and I didn't really have any opinion or thoughts around like the category, or it was just I just wanted to build technology in in the consumer world. So I had helped start this like incubator program in Pittsburgh with the same firm that was one of our first and largest investors in ShowClix, and we would, we'd accept different ideas, like multiple ideas from entrepreneurs, a couple times a year, $25,000 checks. I think they're like $50,000 now. Take a very small piece of equity and kind of incubate, right? Like give them the tools they need. And one of the ideas that came through was this idea of what has now become the Zebra. At the time, it was called Insurance Zebra. And I thought it was an awful name. I was like, it's too long. Nobody likes insurance. So dealing with insurance. So like, let's not put it in the name.
Right.
But anyway, the idea itself, the concept was interesting to me because I thought surely it had already been done. Right. And the concept was simply like build tools for people to compare insurance quotes online. It's like, at that point.
What time period are we talking about?
This is like 2012. So even then though, like I was thinking, surely this had been done already. Like insurance is such a big category. Everybody has it in some way, shape or form. So so that's what caused me to actually do some research on it. Was I thought like, how did this idea get through our, this incubator program? Because like surely this has been done. And the more I researched, the more I found that it had not been done. Like basically it was all lead gen, like arbitrage, poor experiences. And the more I did that research, the more I got intrigued by it. And so the guy who started the company, his name is Adam. Adam Lyons. Okay. Yeah. He and I just like clicked. He knew and saw what I had done at ShowClix. And it was just like a natural fit in many ways, but yeah, I also had no idea what I was getting myself into in terms of insurance. Like it turns out, like I thought, how hard can this be? Well, it turns out like it's like really technical, really hard. Yeah, like super technical. Like dealing with just even the nomenclature in insurance is like, but that's why I thought there was such an opportunity, because I was like, this is so confusing for people.
Exactly.
Like that. So
people just like contracts. I don't want to fuck with it.
I know. Yeah, exactly. And all the terms, insurance terms and stuff. So it wasn't the sexiest industry, but it was like, I saw an opportunity.
Exactly.
And I just kind of ran with it.
To automate it. I feel like once you start automating, a process, that's what sparks the idea.
Yeah, and also, I mean, I like that mindset, because there's a lot of things like that right now. Currently, people tends to think like, oh, we're living in a digital age. Everything is out there. Like, nah, bro, there's still a lot of opportunities out there. You just got to think in that mindset.
We have a few, but I don't think we want to go ahead and air it out right now.
Coming soon. So like the whole Zebra concept, y'all get started, y'all start talking. The entity was already established, right? Y'all took it
they established it going through the incubator program. So there was already some like initial, thing, like kind of structure there.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, and so you come on. How did things start going on about there? Now y'all actually have venture capital as well, right?
Yeah, I mean, that was, so I think there was a number of like things that kind of culminated in terms of being able to get that off the ground. One was we were able to kind of get the traction early on with the idea, because the idea was so simple to communicate, you know. It's like, which is important. I think that's something that people don't talk about enough, is just like storytelling and like how do you even get somebody interested in the first place. And with what we were doing, it was like something that everybody I would talk to, like, you know, oh yeah, I hate dealing with that, you know. It's like
The need was there.
Yeah, the need was there. So that was really helpful, I think, in selling the story to venture capitalists. And then, you know, when you have a little bit of success under your belt already, it really kind of also helps, you know, cut through the noise a bit and get some more attention. But how do you show traction, right? How do you get like their attention through the growth phase? And it was always about like trying to stay as true to our vision as possible, but understanding that like to get to where we want to go, we're going to have to maybe go off course. In the industry traditionally was full of lead gen, as I mentioned, like just these kind of poor experiences. And that's the way that it was often like monetized. And,
right.
And that's also the way the insurance providers were used to kind of engaging with platforms like we were building. And so we hated that model because of what it, you know, selling people's data was not like something we were really excited to do. And it was also part of the reason we started it was to kind of, you know, create something better. Yeah. But we still had to do some of that because the way that the industry was set up, it was not really going to accept our model and our vision on day one. Mm-hmm. So we had to kind of play, you know, kind of get in the game that we wanted to change and play that game first before we could actually change the game. And in doing that, we also were able to, you know, that helped us kind of get the traction we needed to get to the next step. So, you know, it's like, so I think the lesson there is like some, you know, oftentimes when you think about starting something, you think about like all the different things you want to do, right? It's like mm-hmm. a long list and it just keeps growing.
Right.
And you try to like boil the ocean by doing it all, right? Or some big portion of it at mm-hmm. once. And you're afraid to kind of like have the liberty to like kind of go off
like
that.
Prioritize or something like that.
Yeah. Or to like play the game that you're trying to change, you know, like, mm-hmm. because you could do that. Like, that's what we did. We had to get involved in ways that we, you know, it was kind of the problem that we were trying to solve. We had to kind of participate in that, but we knew that if we kept telling the same story, if we stuck true to the vision and we always kept coming back to it, we would eventually get to a place where mm-hmm. we could reorient like the whole product and the model and everything right. to the, you know, in the direction that we originally wanted in the first place. So it's like people just like think that, you know, you can create all of the, you know, everything you want on the first version, right? Or like it takes so long and you're going to go off course and you're going to do things you didn't think you had to do. And that's just the way it goes. And it takes way longer than you ever think.
Right.
You know,
and so you have Adam Lyons, you had Joshua, mm-hmm. and you know, y'all are growing, obviously. Mm-hmm. What was that first milestone where y'all were like, okay, this is going to be something serious?
I think when we so for me, we had a feature in a magazine called Consumer Reports. I shouldn't say we had a feature. We had basically done something with Consumer Reports where we provided them with data. Mm-hmm. They were talking about, you know, the insurance industry and insurance carriers, and right. so we provided the data. And when we did that, and they used our data, and they were, you know, they're such a reputable publication, independent publication. It was such a big win that kind of, it's the first thing that comes to my mind because it really set up so many different things for us. Like once we had that, it was so much easier to talk to insurance carriers, 'cause it was so much easier to start to get some traffic, because we had like these links coming from these, articles that were very reputable, and we could, they don't let you really publicize that, that you're featured in their magazine, but we could still leverage that in some different ways, right? So that just like comes to mind, that big like press.
And do you remember that moment? Like, I mean, if it's something that comes to mind, where it's like one of the biggest moments or milestones for them, I'm thinking right now, y'all were probably expecting that moment, waiting for it to drop, and y'all were like, all right, let's see if we get listed. Was it something like that, or take me through how it was like?
It was, we didn't know how they were going to use the data. So it was something, they reached out to us. They inquired about getting some information from us, and we just worked that relationship really well. Like, we helped the journalists kind of navigate a space that they weren't as familiar with as we were in, all day, every day. But we still didn't know what the story was going to be or how we were going to be involved in it and stuff. So when it came out, and it was in their print as well as like a few different online editions, and we were just like so thrilled, because it really helped establish us as an authority in that space. It was like, they're using our data, they're referencing us, they're linking to us. And I think one of the quotes was like, they mentioned the zebra in like a positive light, like trying to help with this type of problem, like people, dealing with insurance and shopping for insurance and stuff. And that was just such a game changer. And I think also just that in that time frame, like a lot of things were kind of starting to finally come together, and that was like a manifestation of that we could like latch onto.
So after how long did you guys start seeing that? So how long did that take?
That wasn't until probably like the third or fourth year into it.
2016, 2017.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Like 2016, maybe it was actually 2015. It was probably like 3 years into it. Yeah.
Can you, I think it sounds so passive, it's just like, 4 years we built it. But like, there's so much shit that goes into like building a business and start scaling it like that. Like, eventually did it just become normal to you seeing that type of growth?
No. Never became normal to me. I think it was always, I'm somebody that's like, I would always tell my team, like, what are we going to do today to move the needle? So it was like, it was always we were always looking at the data. We were always trying to optimize and test. And there's things that we would do that you would just think would work, and they didn't. And there's things we didn't think would work, and they work phenomenally well. But no, you never get used to those ups or downs. I don't think. You just try to like keep your eye on, what it is that you're working and building toward, and then use that momentum to just keep it snowballing forward.
Right. So it's just like little micro wins stacking on top of it.
Yeah. And we would try to take time to like celebrate, for sure. That was important, right? Because it's like everybody's working really hard. But we didn't also want to like get a big ego excited.
Did I ever celebrate at Postinos?
No.
You never heard of Postinos?
No.
Dude, dope ass spot. You need to go. It's basically like a wine bar, but man, it's a cool ass vibe.
Here in Austin?
I think they're everywhere.
They have one in Dallas.
Random ass stop, but I was it's a really dope spot. I was just thinking like, the little business parties that we be having too, but it's great, just wine. I'm a wine lover, and they got brioche and like nice.
Got the charcuterie boards.
Oh shit, that shit is good.
So what's your typical day like, being an entrepreneur, having to manage so many employees, or all these projects? What's a typical day for Joshua?
It used to be a lot of meetings, which I did not like at all. Like, I mean, I love the people I was meeting with, don't get me wrong, and a lot of them would energize me for sure, but I just would feel so depleted at the end of the day, just lots and lots of meetings. And it would be meetings from all, folks in all different teams. So, there's the switching of context, like from one, dealing with kind of like a customer issue and then the next minute you're dealing with like, you're raising a ton of money and you're dealing with like the diligence or something. It's just like so exhausting. So my days used to look like a lot of meetings. now, right, I'm starting something new, and I'm back to the grind. But
that is
Paragon.
Paragon.
Yes. And it's in the news and media space. But my days now look like I have a kid now, so they look like much more chaotic than they did in terms of like being rigid and organized. So I really try to be as fluid as possible in terms of I don't like to set up lots of meetings, and I try to keep a lot of like discussions over email or Slack or something, just because it's. You get on a phone call or something, and you end up like, for me, I'll speak for myself. I get in rabbit holes so easily, like, this idea, right? Like shiny object, like, so it's just like you end up wasting a lot of time. There's some value in that, but right. By and large, like when you're really like early stage, like you just don't have much time for anything but like the things you got to get done then and there. So I try to stay very fluid in terms of like availability and openness, and my calendar looks different from day to day, but there's really no 2 days that look the same. That's for sure.
Interesting. So no like routine, really.
No, not right now.
Any like Jack Dorsey moments?
No. Coffee in the morning, a few backflips before you wake up.
I mean,
after you wake
10
up,
10 push-ups.
No, like I need to get back at it. Actually, like
that's a startup grind. It's like wake up, espresso.
Let me tell you, when he wakes up,
don't play me, bro.
When he wakes up, and then like to kind of get in the mood, he shadow boxes.
I throw a couple punches.
Yeah, he shadow boxes, and he's like, "All right, I'm ready to go."
No, I read this.
Like whatever it is.
He trying to play me. Look, I read this book called The 5 a.m. Club by Robin Sharma. And he talks about like, he does jumping jacks, 10 push-ups and stuff like that. Yeah. When you wake up right out of bed, that shit works. For anybody listening to this podcast, try that shit. Wake up, throw a couple punches or do some sit-ups or something.
Yeah, just get your blood flowing.
Yeah, and it works. Like, there's sometimes when I wake up and I'm like, oh my God, like this is going to be a hard ass day. Boom, 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 boom. All right, I'm ready.
Let's go.
I just do it for like 5 minutes. Yeah, and it really wakes you up. So I know that shit is weird, but
I know this about myself. Like, how people will have like different habits or like rituals, or or maybe they find a new like system or platform that they're using for organization or whatever it is. Right. Like, I cannot get past like just the basics of like I keep all my notes on like the same massively long document. I've made it now. It's like searchable. And I use Google Calendar, and like I can't like there's just some things like I cannot break, like in terms of like productivity or organizational skills or whatever. But I used to be much more rigid with like some of that stuff. Like, and I will say, like, I miss when I lived in the city, I would walk to the office every day. And that was like, it was about a mile long walk. And that was fantastic because it was a great way of just like having a good like 20 minutes to myself, 30 minutes to myself, get my heart rate up a little bit.
Clear your mind.
Yeah. Like I really need to be doing that type of stuff. But if I'm honest with you, to answer your question, I'm not really doing much right now other than just like going with the flow.
No, some people, that's good to know, because like some people feel like I'm one of those. I feel like I have to do a fixed routine every day. Yeah. And it's like, all right, next week I'm gonna push it, and I'm gonna be waking up every day at 4 a.m. That shit fails. It's like, bro, like relax, just follow whatever makes sense.
Whatever works.
So the Zebra, finally, y'all are having success. You and Adam, y'all are taking off, and y'all accomplished something really big that a lot of companies don't get to accomplish, right? I mean, a majority of them, and y'all reached unicorn status.
We did.
How was that feeling for you, knowing that you've hustled from your early days at your first company, building websites, ShowClix, and then the Zebra, and scaling it to 1 billion? Was it something that you expected?
That's a good question, man. Like, I don't know if I ever thought of it as like, I kind of did expect it, I guess, because it was like,
there we go.
It was like, you're raising money on this trajectory, and like inevitably, so we by the way, we had raised like hundreds of millions of dollars, right? So like, and at some point when you start taking like a $40 million check, you realize that like, the outcome for the investors to have the returns that they're looking for, like it needs to be pretty sizable, right? Like, so, but yeah, and I mean, we had to sell that vision when we got those investors. So absolutely, I guess, we were expecting or hoping to get to that. And
Guy Raz, one of my favorite podcasters, likes to say, he gets into interview a lot of big entrepreneurs, and he asks them, do you think it was luck? And I kind of like how you said that you expected it, because even though I think luck shows up in a lot of opportunities, only you know what you do in private,
Yeah.
And I feel like you've had some days where you're alone and you really like push the vision, stress and all that.
Yeah, I mean, so look, like I had a lot of people question me when I left ShowClix, because again, it was like I stepped down at the peak, and I did that intentionally. I think like that was part of my, why the timing was I wanted to kind of leave on a high note. But a lot of people questioned me. It was like, why, you just spent 7-8 years building this. It's like turned into this amazing thing. You have all, they see all the materialism. They see all the accolades, right? But like, you're right. I knew like what I wanted for myself. And, I've never been one that's been great at like articulating my visions. Like, I guess I'm like an artist that has a hard time. Like I have these things in my head, these thoughts and visions in my head that like it's like really hard to like get them out.
With that too. I feel you.
Yeah. And but when you're with the case of the Zebra, we definitely took the path of like raising venture capital and stuff. So it's not to me, I don't really enjoy that process. However, it is kind of nice because it forces you to like think about like, where are you headed? Take a look back. What has the story been? What is the story going to look like moving forward? And like put it all, like upload it all onto paper or a presentation or something. And that exercise, that process is like really, really helpful in that. So you have to like be thinking like big picture,
right?
But I'll say this too, like $1 billion, 10 billion, whatever. It doesn't like if your dream is to maybe it's a lifestyle business, right? Like maybe it's not like $1 billion or more like is awesome, but like there's just some businesses that's not like
that's not with their like personality, their
right.
core,
right? Like because you have to like kind of start to structure your like when you kind of get to that scale, like you have to start to put the things in place like early, and then it does like that doesn't happen overnight, and so but if you're looking for just like a lifestyle business, meaning like something small, easier to manage, it still could be worth a lot, whatever, but like that's cool. It's just a different path, like you maybe you don't raise venture capital, or maybe you don't raise as much, or you take money from different types of investors or that sort of thing. So, it's like, but that is what we wanted to do. We wanted to build a consumer brand. We knew it was going to take a lot of money, but we knew if we did it and did it well, it'd be worth a lot too. So,
and obviously, one of the big things is like dilution. To y'all's company, every founder, is like, there's some who don't want to dilute themselves, others who, might like not like the idea. How did y'all take that? Did y'all ever have any problem with that, diluting yourself to more investors?
I'd be lying if I said that.
Let's keep it real. Like
no heartburn about dilution, that's for sure. But one of the investors at some point like he kept reminding me like not to get so hyper focused on that, because it's like
I wish the audience could see this right now.
Jordan. Look at her just staring at me.
Right? I wish so. What type of dog is this?
It's like kind of creepy the way she's looking at me right now. Yeah. That's an Italian Greyhound. Let me let her out real quick. I'm sorry.
Okay, so yes, dilution to your shares. Was there any?
There was heartburn around that always in every case, even if it was like an exciting time, time in the company with great terms and all that, there's always that reservation about dilution. But when you pay a lot of attention to that, it's a slippery slope, because it's real easy to kind of, especially if you have a co-founder, you can mess up your dynamics, right? Because it's like, if everybody's just looking out for their own stake and not in the best interest of the company, then you're not going to have a company, right? It's like, so you have to kind of figure out what, a balance between like, this is what's going to make me motivated, and this is what's like fair and best for the company, like given everything else, right? So and ultimately, if you build a big business, like it's it's always great to have more equity, but like you'll have a great outcome no matter what, as long as you weren't completely dumb about dilution during in the way.
Stay focused on the big image.
Exactly. So.
Awesome. So should we get into rapid fire questions?
I think we should. So
all right. I think I have them on my phone.
You have them on your phone?
Is that my phone over there?
Let me see. Where is it?
I don't see a phone.
On top of that table. I left it.
Let me go check.
Yeah, so we're gonna rapid fire questions. We took some time to kind of think about. Oh, it's not there. Okay.
Look at this dude. Still has that.
Oh. What? How does that even happen?
I don't even know.
It's a better view when you're watching movies. You have.
I think I had like
the curved screen.
Yeah, the curved screen. I had
Did you melt that?
No, I had an actual charger that I like put like that, and it charges it. But it overheated, I think, and it melted because
It did something, Gio. It's
but
bending.
I had to keep it in here because now if I take it off, I tried to last time, it's like gonna fall apart.
It's the only case that's
gonna get on my ass, huh?
It's the only case that'll fit it.
Yeah. Okay. So rapid fire questions. We came up with some questions we wanted to ask you, and these are like questions that we were just curious about. So you want to go ahead and start it off, or I'll let you do the rapid questions.
All right, so let's see. We actually asked the first one already, so I'm going to go ahead and skip it.
Okay.
That was the daily routine one that I asked earlier.
Yeah, I have a lame
it doesn't
answer
keep
to
it
that.
fixed.
All right, so here we go. Your favorite entrepreneur?
I'm going to, it's supposed to be rapid fire. Shoot. I'm going to go with, the first person that came in my mind is Oprah Winfrey.
Okay, that's a good one. Yeah, that's a good one.
I like that.
Yeah, I like that. All right, here we go. Second question. Book that inspired you?
7 Keys of the Kingdom, which is about like Walt Disney World.
Okay. All right, so worst financial mistake or purchase?
The Mercedes.
Worst financial mistake or purchase? Oh, dude, that's hard. I would say I bought some palm trees lately that died. And that whole
Were they expensive?
they were very expensive. I spent like $20,000 at that, like a nursery just buying
I'm going to
palm
Home
trees.
Depot getting me some
I'm
plant
not
seeds.
proud of that. That's the whole point. Is
Okay. Okay, here we go. Which artist do you stream the most?
I'm gonna go with I listen a lot to how about Queen. I've been listening to a lot of Queen. I just did like a Freddie Mercury painting. Well, it was a while ago at this point, but yeah, doing that like
we're gonna have to see that.
I had to be listening to Queen all the time while I'm painting. And
yeah. Have you seen the movie?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Crazy.
You mean Rhapsody?
Yeah.
Yep.
It's awesome.
All right, so what's on your Christmas wish list?
Christmas wish list, like just anything.
What was it?
I mean,
I was thinking more so like, what is that one thing? We all have.
Yeah, what's that one thing you really want for Christmas?
I've been thinking about getting an Apple Watch. Is that what they're called?
You
iWatch?
should.
Apple Watch.
Yeah, Apple Watch.
They're gonna have all your data.
Exactly, and that's like the data piece, and then the other reason I haven't got one is because like I'm already way too connected, but I really do kind of want.
It's convenient. Look into I think it's called Loop.
Loop?
One of
Is
my
it a
homies
ring?
uses Loop. No, it's a watch, but it tracks your sleep and everything. And it's
But does it
more data.
integrate-
No, but it's really dope because
But does
it gets
it-
your deep sleep and all that.
It's
So
just by itself, or does it integrate with like
it's
the
a
iPhone?
subscription and like an app and stuff like that. I think it's better than Apple Watch.
Okay.
Girls, come on. Sorry about that.
It's all good.
They want to participate.
Yeah, they do.
They do.
All right, so Coinbase or Robinhood?
Robinhood.
Robinhood. Okay, that's what I use.
Okay.
Gemini.
Oh, okay. That's a good one. But I got my thoughts on crypto too.
All right, so the best travel destination?
Italy.
Italy.
Where in Italy?
Yeah.
Amalfi Coast.
Is that what's in your restroom?
Yeah, I took that picture.
I knew it. I was like, yo.
Wait, weren't you just telling me about
you took that?
Yeah.
Oh, that's dope. Yeah, we need to go to Amalfi.
Yeah.
Dude.
It's like a romantic spot, huh? I want to take my
It's
girlfriend.
romantic. It's just, there's something special. The food, everything. Just like great place.
What was the weather like? When did you go? What month?
It was actually starting to cool down, so it was a little like after summertime. I forget what month of the year it was. This was a couple years ago. But we did this thing called it was called the Hike of the Gods or the Path of the Gods. And it's like right along the coast. Mm-hmm. And that's where I got, I have this picture in my restroom the photo that I took. And it's just like
That looks professional.
stunning. It's like, I took that with my phone. It's like so hard to take a bad photo in Italy, on the Amalfi
That's how
Coast.
beautiful it
It's
is.
just like so gorgeous. Yeah, you can't mess it up. But yeah, dude, like everything's like much more rich there, like in terms of like the vibrant, I should say, like you see the fruit and the vegetables are just like brighter colors and just taste better. Like, I don't know, it's just everything.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
Everything about my trip to Italy was amazing. So yeah, I gotta go with
Awesome. All right, well, that
All
pretty
right.
much wraps up those rapid questions.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Damn, I wish we could keep going, but we're
Yeah.
an hour over. All right,
An hour over.
guys, everybody, this was Joshua Dziabiak.
The Zibiak.
Ziabiak. I'm sorry about that, Joshua Ziabiak.
You could just trail off.
Ziabiak.
That's what I do after I have a couple of drinks. I try to say my last
I
name.
know, it was the one. Alrighty.
Ziabiak.
All right, bye guys.
All right, thank you guys.
Thank you.